when we spoke to you exactly a year ago, you were bullish, but you were not excited. Your view was that India is good, but the monetary cycle, the uptick had started. Now things are looking different. So are you bullish and excited both?
No, I remain, yeah. I would have to admit that tactically I'm more bullish now than a year ago, because a year ago we had just commenced the RBI monetary tightening cycle. And actually at that time the RBI had started off being a bit behind the curve. But we've now had, I believe, nearly 300 basis points of monetary tightening, which is probably more than people thought this time last year, probably more than I thought. So what's been amazing is, frankly, how resilient the stock market has been during this monetary tightening cycle, more resilient than I or actually my colleagues would have expected. And now, my base case, as is the base case for most people now, is that the monetary tightening cycle in India, if not America, is over. So that, I think, makes the stock market look more interesting tactically. Structurally, I remain as positive on India as ever. But basically, the last year has allowed earnings growth to catch up with valuations.
So would you say Indian markets, for a long-term investor, if you have to look at Indian markets probably from the prism of valuations, are they reasonable or are they attractive?
No, the valuations are okay. They're not super cheap. They're not cheap at all, but they're certainly not crazily expensive. So I would advise your viewers to remain structurally invested in India. And clearly many Indian investors are doing that, because probably the key reason for the stock market's resilience in the last 12 months has been the ongoing flows into the Indian domestic mutual funds, most particularly via these installment payment schemes. And I don't see why that should change.
Chris, are we reaching at a stage where foreign institutional investors who sold into Indian stocks because of compulsive factors, interest rates were moving against us, currency was depreciating, they could be forced to come back? And we've seen evidence of that already in the last 6 weeks.
Now, foreign investors have started to buy India back, partly because they're coming to India and realizing the story is intact. 2, because they're surprised by the resilience of the market. And 3, because they've started selling China again.
So do you think the flows which have come back into India from foreign investors, they're real and they're here to stay?
I think they're real. There were a lot of foreign investors at this Jefferies conference I was at last week. There were a lot of domestic foreign fund managers. And I believe foreigners historically are only moderately overweight India. Normally they'd be more overweight than what they are right now.
So Chris, if you have to really look at India versus rest of the world, each currently right now has an appeal and has a problem. US, fiscal deficit. China, they've not recovered from the COVID drop. Europe, a messy situation in terms of the dependence on high energy prices. What to your mind is the current challenge for India?
No, well, the good thing about India is that the monetary tightening cycle has peaked. The corporate sector is the big corporates are very underleveraged. The banking sector NBL situation is cleaned up. We've just entered the 3rd year of a residential property market upturn, which in my view can run for another 5 years. And we have I admit it's only early, but we have early indications that a private sector capex cycle is going to happen. Meanwhile, the Indian government has been running quite big fiscal deficits, but those deficits have been primarily used to finance a big infrastructure build-up, not to finance transfer payments, and visibly you see dramatic improvement in infrastructure. So yes, I think the stars are pretty well aligned. Where the market will probably, in my view, continue to climb a wall of worry, but in 6 months' time, you're going to get growing focus on the election, and that if there's you're going to get people. There's going to be speculation on a change in government. So if there was a change in government, which is not my base case next year, that would not be viewed positively by most foreign fund managers.
Chris, a few Indian sweets. If you wish, you can try them. This is called Indian dhokla, and you eat it with chutney. Maybe after the interaction, we can, you may want to taste some Indian sweets. By the way, do you like Indian food?
I love Indian food. I don't eat sweets, but I eat too much Indian food at night.
Which is your all-time favorite? Which is your all-time favorite Indian dish?
Rogan Josh.
Yeah.
I always order Rogan Josh.
Yeah, with the naan.
Yes. Well, it was naan, but now rice,
Now
because
rice.
I've given up gluten. I've tried to give up gluten.